What's up guys, it's Unders, and today we're breaking down another Waves plugin, and we're going to break down the Abbey Road vinyl plugin. Regular viewers may have noticed we are in FL Studio. Reason for that is for my hip hop beats and that sort of area of work that I do, I generally use FL Studio. It's where I started and it's where I like to work for this kind of project, and this is generally where I'm going to use the vinyl plugin. It's really good for using samples or even recording MIDI keyboard stuff from sample libraries, but getting that sampled vibe using something like this. So I figured I'd use it in a project that we've already got going. Just to explain what is going on, we've got a loop of a project here, which is this. And I've got the vinyl plugin currently pretty much completely disabled on the instrument bus, which has got that flute going to it, the chopped up samples and bits. Essentially this sound here. And as you can see, this project isn't mixed at all. No faders moved, no other plugins. We've just got this on the go for the minute. So to break down the plugin, right at the top we've got a visual, and the visual changes depending on certain settings on the plugin, and it just gives you a quick way to look at the plugin and know roughly what you're doing, but it has no detrimental effect, but it does let you know if there is audio going into your plugin by just spinning the vinyl around there. Cool. So everything really happens in this like top-down view of the desk itself. The first thing to notice, we've got this green switch which says TG desk. What this does is it emulates the frequency response of the TG12410 mastering desk. So it takes that little profile and response. There's a very subtle difference. You can hear it when you're a bit more extreme. So let's have it disabled and we'll enable it. Yeah, very subtle change. Generally the TG was designed to be as linear as possible while analog. So it's a small change, but there's something there, especially a little lift in the tops. Next, we've got the generation between Lacquer and Print. This is the generation of machine used to essentially carve and or print the vinyl, if you will. So when we switch between them, we can see the whole sort of machine work changes. And the sound does change quite a lot between these two. Yeah, notice the lacquer's quite a bit noisier, but again, it gives that feel of it being sampled from vinyl a little bit more, for me anyway. We've then got the turntable, so we've got the AR, which is sort of the built-in test turntable on both machines, or we can go DJ and it swaps it out for a standard Techniques turntable there, and you can see that it's represented in both when we swap it out. And again, this changes a little bit. Now, this doesn't really change the overall sound. What this is really changing is the way it's driven and the way it performs in terms of its rate, wow, flutter, and spin-up time. This becomes more prevalent when we introduce the wow and flutter controls as we go along. Next, we're going to swap out the cartridge, and the cartridge is the little bit that plugs into the arm going into the turntable, and that's what picks up the sound from the vinyl. So we've got MM, which is moving magnet, MC, which is moving coil, and DJ, which will be a standard DJ arm there. The MM is really a reference needle. It's the sort of needle you would have used way back for playing reference material. The MC is It's the kind of needle you would find on a really high-end system designed to play vinyl, and a DJ cartridge is a pretty standard, durable DJ cartridge which will do the job in playing something back. We've then got a noise crackle control. We've then got a density for the clicks control. Now the density basically determines how many pops and clicks there are going to be, so how damaged the vinyl is going to be. So if we were to crack it up to right the way to 100 and then put clicks on around 50, lots of pops and clicks occurring here. Generally, I won't use that, or if I do, it will be very, very subtle. I will mostly make use of crackle and perhaps noise. In fact, my favorite settings to generate the sound that I'm after, to have noise at around 1 dB. Crackle, depending on the sample, we'll go lacquer, DJ turntable and DJ arm. And that for me gives the feel of being sampled the most. We can sometimes up the crackle if we want to really degrade the sample as well. Now we can start to get a bit more creative as we go along here, and we've got a nice input drive as well which can distort the sound. Now a lot of the times when things were being sampled, they're coming from a turntable into generally not the best mixer in the world and usually not correctly gain controlled, and you would end up with something a bit like this. So just the A and B, the difference here. It's the original clean sample. And the more we overload that, the more it starts to crush the waveform and get that feeling of not really correctly being sampled to the best. But when taken from a degraded vinyl, generally that would have been the case. So in the middle, we've got 2 meters. They're really useful. Generally, I just overload them and go with the sound. But if you wanted to be precise and gain stage correctly, you can absolutely utilize them. If you've overloaded them like this, click on the red dot and it will get rid of your gain overload for you. 0 is right around here and we can push it past. I will almost always push it past into saturation. It's one of these plugins that's designed for that purpose. We've then got the meters to have in or out. I'll generally just leave them on out because that's what I really care about in these instances. But we can monitor the in as well. If you're looking to maintain the same levels between in and out, you can flip between in, figure out where it's peaking and then flip it to out, and make sure you use your input and output gains to adjust that correctly. Now we can monitor left and right individually or in mono. Which can also be useful when we've taken the sample that's perhaps got a wide dynamic between left and right, as happened in lots of the 1960s style vinyls. Wow and Flutter, its fluctuation in speed, and thus because of it fluctuations in speed, it fluctuates in pitch as well, and its fluctuation in volume. So let's put a really high rate on wow with depth and we should hear a dramatic change. Now, Generally, a direct drive turntable like the Technique's never going to offer too much of the wow factor. It's generally the band spun turntables that would have had this kind of issue, but we can emulate that kind of feel here by just having a little bit of a movement in the pitch. And flutter is obviously a change in dynamic, and this is quite often occurs when you've got a slightly warped vinyl and the needle will ride up and down ever so slightly. Generally I won't use this because I'm looking to really control the dynamics of that anyway, but if we wanted to emulate or create an effect in that way, we've got the ability to do so here. This middle section, we've got a nice auto resume and slow down section. It's a great effect we can make use of if we automate it. And we can set the length of time it takes to do that. For example, we could put it down to just a second or so. If we automate that stop switch and have auto resume back on, it can just be a nice little tape stop effect for us. Now just next to this, we've got something called tone arm. Now a vinyl is best pressed and sounds best around the edges. As it gets towards the middle, it can degrade in quality. The tone arm effectively gives you that effect, allowing you to decide where from the vinyl you're playing. Very subtle, but when combined with everything else will absolutely have a bit of an effect. Generally it's going to be a loss of high frequency the more to the center of the vinyl you get. Lastly, we've got some phase distortion. And you can be quite extreme with it. On this particular sound, it's not working well for us at all. Below, we've got the modulator section. This is kind of like a high pass, low pass. It's kind of a high pass, low pass situation that between the two is the area that can be phase distortion. The area between the two will be phase distorted. It's your sort of modular range for that. So all in all, a very useful little plugin for this particular purpose. Something I use quite a lot to get this feel, especially on very clean, modern MIDI instruments. And I hope you have fun using it. I hope this was a helpful breakdown for you, and I will see you on the next one.